Hi, pursuers. I'm back, and I'm back with a Vanderpump Rules recap. Can you believe it? Finally made it to Vanderpump Rules. Now, before I go any further, I just want to let you know that I am aware that sometimes I talk really loud into the mic, so I'm just trying to, as if finally getting my equipment wasn't enough. Now I have to adjust everything. I just want to make sure that I have all the dials correct, and I know where to leave everything, so that when I do record, it records nicely. And it doesn't record too bashing in your ear and you gotta tune it down. Okay, with that being said, let's get started with the Vanderpump Rules recap. So excited to do this one. I love Vanderpump Rules. And it's finally I'm finally caught up to all the recaps of my shows, I'm so glad that I did start watching them again because like I said, I kind of had a little lull there for a couple weeks between Christmas and New Year's. My mental health, I was just in bed, figuring out what's next to do in life. And I know some of you might say, wow, well, you're lucky that you have the luxury to do that. I don't really think it's a luxury to mope and to sulk. But it definitely happened. And I was like, you know what? I actually miss podcasting and I have my equipment. Why am I just not watching my shows and at least pumping out some episodes, At least I'll get my mind off of things. And again, I'm so glad I did it. I know that some people come just for the frickin' Bravo episodes. And some are here for the other ones. And unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to do much of the other ones. Although I feel like it's a lot fitting. Because there's just some things that are happening in some of our favorite housewife shows that would be fitting to talk about mental health stuff. So I might just take a turn and hunker down a little bit more on that. I told you guys many times before, my brand is just me being me. And me being me is I love my Bravo shows. I'm trying to do the best that I can with what I have in life. I'm a single mom. I love fitness. I'm just trying to figure it out, So, yeah, if my episodes seem kind of all over the place, it's because my brain's all over the place, And if sometimes I'm inconsistent for a couple weeks, I'm not signed with a podcast studio or... This is just me doing it all myself. Even the editing, which I've started to do a little bit, is just all me. So, unfortunately, just with the way that my brain is, there might be a week or two where I might lull it out. But I'm so happy that I do have a platform that I can speak on and I can recap some of my favorite things and kind of give my opinion on it. Because, sometimes you observe situations from afar and your opinion is different than if you were actually in it. So, that's kind of nice. Not to mention we all watch the same shows. And to just, be myself and wherever I can kind of give an opinion or an outlook that might be different than what you hear on the regular. And if that can help someone or just change someone's point of view a little bit to get them to be a little bit more understanding or I don't know. Whatever I can to put my mark in this world and to change it, I will. Again, I don't know if the Bravo shows are necessarily the best examples, but we like them and there are guilty pleasures. There's way worse guilty pleasures out there, And I also am a recovering addict, so anything to keep me away from the stuff that gets you in big, big trouble, I think we're going to be okay with. Plus, I love to blab. I love to bab, and I always have such a strong opinion. I'm very opinionated, so I think it's fine. It works. So up until this point, I want to say thank you for everyone who's been with me and who listens. Whether it's on YouTube or through any of the podcast channels like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean. There's a bunch of others there. Amazon Music. I really appreciate you guys being here. I really appreciate you guys listening. Even if it's just to laugh or to see what's going on in the Bravo verse today. But it really helps me out and it makes me feel nice. So with that being said, and I've mentioned it before, please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already to my podcast through whichever channel that you're listening to. I also have my YouTube. If you don't mind going and subscribing to there, it would really help me out. I am on all socials. If you want to get a hold of me and just chat or have some recommendations or some input, please feel free to reach out on my socials as well. I also have it in the show notes, where you can leave me a voicemail. Because I do want to keep in touch and kind of just get everyone's feedback. I'm no one crazy famous, but it's always nice to hear from people, Anyways, let's get into it. Vanderpump Rules season 12, episode 4. So let me go back to saying I love this season of Vanderpump Rules. I know this is the first season that they kind of did the revamp. I love it. I don't know about you guys. I'm loving it. Now, it's never going to be the old Vanderpump Rules. We know that. But what I do like about it is, like, it's just something different. Fresh faces, fresh drama. I think if you look in the grand scope of things, like, all universal, everyone is very similar. For example, when babies are born, they all go through certain stages around the certain time frame. Like, they teeth starting from like 6 months to 2 years, let's just say, like everything on a grand scale of things is very similar. So you're going to get a brand new set of people at SIR, new problems. On a micro scale, yeah, the problems might vary, but on a macro scale, like, it's all very similar in the end. It's guy with a girl, another girl gets jealous, or another girl might be impeding on a relationship, or so might think the girlfriend. You have a friend in there that has a strong opinion. You have the one guy that is like the player and can never nail down a girl because everyone thinks he's a player. Like, in the grand scheme of things, all the problems are similar. It's just different players, So with that being said, pursuers, episode 4 starts with Marcus taking swigs before work. And I just sat there and I'm like, dude, did you not learn anything from when you got, like, in trouble by Lisa? She watches this and she is the show's producer, or one of them. So it's just so weird to me that he just did not even care. Now, then it's pans to Natalie saying that she'd made out with Millie Bobby Brown's brother. Do I believe it? Of course, it's LA. This is why, like, people from LA and just people that live in LA in general, it's just so hard to not only believe them, but to take them really serious, because they literally have everything and everyone at their fingertips. Now, I had thought that Venus and Marcus were best friends, but when he walked into Natalie's house, he had said that Natalie and the guy that was already at Natalie's house, I didn't catch his name, that they were actually his best friends. But later on, as it continues, I realized that Marcus, as a straight guy, happened to be one of Venus's best friends. Like, Venus has never been that close to a straight guy before. And it makes sense. I really do like Natalie, though. There's just something about her I like. She doesn't appear to be fake at all. And when she has these authentic, genuine, like, moments, like crashouts, which we'll talk about a little bit later into this episode and next, it's really from a genuine place. I don't think that, she doesn't want to look a certain way for the camera. Like, if it just happens, it happens. And she's 1000% okay with admitting it and taking accountability and moving on. And there's just something very authentic about her that I love. I think Angelika's pretty sweet, innocent. She really did want to get with Jason. And I've already seen the first 2 episodes, so this is me speaking in hindsight, but I just don't understand what the lure is with him. I get that she was with him all day at the pool and, like, they kind of bonded, and she's trying to get over her ex, who she currently still lives with, which I initially thought was a weird situation. I'm 41 years old. I know what that means. Unless, like, why has he not gone out yet if you guys are broken up? But there is something about Angelika that does scare guys off, and it's like she's really, like, overbearing. Like, she wants an answer right away. Like, what are we? And she just met Jason, so I can see where Jason can kind of be a little bit alarmed like that. Like, he's just moved to LA. He's just trying to make a name for himself. He's not really ready to settle down and be someone's man, perhaps, right away. So Angelika coming from that kind of place, considering that she's still living with her ex, is kind of a little bit much. But at least she's honest and she's just putting it out there. But I find that those girls are the craziest. So let's see how that goes on. He says in his confessionals that, so I guess they'd gone out after the pool party, when there was the big blow up between Kim and Natalie and Venus. I guess they'd gone out, and then there was a girl there that Jason knew, so Jason went to go say hi to her, and Angelika wasn't far behind. But then eventually, as they got closer, she's like, I don't even know this girl. I'm just going to kind of let them have their hi moment, and then he'll come back to me. But he didn't come back. And when she turned around, the girl was on his lap. Now, Jason in his confessional was like that he wishes that Angelika would have came up to him and grabbed him and smooched him in front of the girl that he was canoodling. And I just sat there and I was like, ew, you're gross. Like, who do you think you are? Like, this isn't a Hollywood blockbuster. Like, this isn't, like, is that a script that you're reading from that you think that, like, that's not real life. Like, those things don't happen. Like, I know he's really into the Hollywood stuff and he wants to be an actor or whatever, but, like, entertainer, that stuff's not real life, my friend. So the fact that he wants to take this innocent little girl, Yeah, and I say innocent little girl because I feel like she can be sneaky, but she's still like unknown. Like she just doesn't really understand. And you want to make her into this Hollywood scene of like a romantic Hollywood scene, like some sort of novel. I forgot those novels that are really like sexy and romantic, but like it's just so weird for me. Like I don't know. He rubbed me the wrong way right away when he started saying that. Okay. So I guess they're at work now, and Jason takes Angelika to have a conversation. He tells Angelika, he's like, I wish that you'd come and save me from that girl. And she's like, what the hell? Like, to me, he's not even good looking. But to her, she's like, why would I need to save you? Like, if you want to be with me, you would have been able to leave her on your own, you know? She's a good girl, again, Angelika, but I can see how she can be really a lot for guys. Like, these guys just want to have a good, especially in LA. She says that her ex left her because he doesn't think that she's the one. Of course, because if she's this type of girl that's saying, well, are we going to get together? Are we going to live together? Are we going to get married? Are we going to blah, blah, blah? That's a bit too much for the guy. But he's still living there on the air mattress, apparently, on his way to find a new place. So she's enough for them to bone, but just not good enough for them to make wife, you know? This isn't a her issue. This is just men issue. And this is the problem that I have with girls. I've never been that kind of girl. Maybe when I first started like seeing guys when I was 18, but eventually I learned quick. And you could say maybe through the experiences of guys, I realized that's not it. But also I realized that like no guy is really worth kind of like keeping up all these boundaries and, you know, like go have fun yourself. But later do we see her having fun? So maybe this was just all an act. Regardless, I think that like guys always say that they want girls to be honest. And then when you have a girl that's honest like this, it's like it's too much, you know? So it's like vice versa. Guys as well with girls, you know? Guys tell a girl what they want, and then the girl's like, oh, it's too much. Just like Natalie and Shayne, you know, at the pool party. He was trying to be honest with her. She's like, you're giving me the ick because you're being too honest. Like, just play hard to get. It's like you can really never win. And that's when it comes down to, like, if there's chemistry, there's chemistry. If it goes both ways and you catch each other at the same time feeling the same way, that's when the relationship will really kind of work out. She lays it on the table that it might be too much for most men, especially men who live in Hollywood, and Jason admits it. He says, I don't want a relationship, and you're treating me like a boyfriend. And so it kind of scares him, and this is true. And that's just the type of girl that she is. She just bears it, unfortunately, all up front, which can work sometimes, but in this case, especially with LA guys, it doesn't. I just don't understand why she would just bear it so quick to any guy, because she is pretty. She can get whoever she wants. And she should play a little bit hard to get a little bit more, make them work for it a little bit more. But, you know, each to their own. You can't make people what they're not. And then it pans to Shayne. You can tell Shayne really liked Natalie. It's weird that he goes to AA meetings across the street, but then comes to Sir, which is a bar, so that he can watch other girls drink. It's like, where does he even meet these girls? But hey, if he's strong enough to do that, that's fine. I have met people. I'm also myself clean and sober. Do I go to bars? I go to restaurants where people are drinking, and I have no issue with that. But when I put myself in a situation where it's like mostly drinks, the lights are off, the music, you know, dancing, I don't know. I don't think that it would be really my environment. And the people that typically go there are not necessarily people that I hang out with. Now, if a situation arises, I need to go to something like that, or it's a mingle event and I'm invited. I don't think that I would have an issue going. I just don't have people in my life that do things like that. So I haven't had to find myself in that situation quite yet. But it is kind of ironic. You go to the meeting and then you come across the street and you watch girls get drunk. Maybe that's the only way that he can get girls. Marcus and Venus go outside to the infamous alley, the Sir alley, to have a conversation. And Marcus is having drinks again and smoking cigarettes, consistently calling Venus brother. Like, I cannot handle him, you know? There's just something about Marcus that gives me a really big ick. It's like he's Peter Pan, you know? I don't know where Lisa finds all the staff at. Like, they might be entertaining, but it's like at their expense, and I don't think they realize that. All in all, I do think Marcus here has a good point. He does say that he's never judged Venus or called him out when he's fallen short as a friend. And, you know, for Marcus being his age, the way that he put together these words, I think it was great. And it was the first time he was actually pretty clear on something, you know. But with that being said, maybe if Venus doesn't mean that you have to stoop down to his level and now go tell everybody in the restaurant stuff that he's told you in confidence. Now you don't look any better than him, you know? So just because your friend has an opinion doesn't mean that you can get mad at him and go air out his laundry to everybody because he confided in you in that moment. And if you really are older in this relationship, in the sense that like more mature, maybe you should lead by example. I think, to be honest, I think in that moment, that was more of a Kim thing. It wasn't a Marcus thing. I cannot picture Marcus being like, let's go tell everybody at work what Venus said. Which is sad, because obviously Marcus has to tag along to everything that Kim does. And the reason I find it sad is because later on you find out that Venus is actually more wanting to keep the friendship with Kim. But Kim is the more conniving one. You can just tell right away. Marcus doesn't have the brain capacity to do this, nor would he care. But I know he jumped on this bandwagon and he did it just so he could satisfy the anger and the need of Kim to kind of get back, to prove that he's really in this relationship. I don't even know why they put so much energy in this relationship when they're constantly fighting with each other, and it always leads to one thing or another, So Kim goes to Angelika's house, gets their friends, they're all working together now. She says she wants to throw a girls' night, whatever, yawn. Kim's boring. I don't not find her interesting at all, so we're moving right along. Audrey's moving. Her new loft is gorgeous. I didn't realize that she was moving in with 2 other people. I thought it was just hers, but my daughter's like, Mom, she's moving with the 2 other people because all their leases were up. But then Chris is honestly so sweet. Like, he's such a good guy. He comes to help her out. And honestly, Chris has grown on me. I did prejudge both of them, Chris and Jason, but Jason is proving to be exactly what I thought, and Chris is actually turning out to be opposite of what I thought. So I'm going to give him bonus points for that. And the next scene, you see now Jason changing right in front of Sir. Like, it's these little gross things that he does that he thinks that he's so cool. And you have these older ladies, no offense, Jason, they're like googling at you. And it's like, just like, have some self-respect, Marcus sits down. He wants to have a conversation with Lisa. First, she asks how his grief counseling is going. And, Marcus kind of says, yeah, it's good. Everything's good. I'm doing the best that I can. Then he asks that he wants to DJ, because apparently DJing is going to help him with his grief and overcoming it. And I just couldn't help but laugh at Lisa and be like, where do you find all these guys from? That, again, remember at the beginning of the episode, I said macro situation, very similar. Micro, you might have some differences. The macro situations, you always have this guy that has issues and he wants to be a DJ as a way of, I don't know, stepping outside of himself or like overcoming it. But why DJs? It's just so weird. She really does pick like the same type of people. It's finally girls' night. Okay. All the ladies are on the limo bus. Demi doesn't go to the girls' night because she has to work. I'm not laughing. You're laughing because you guys all know how much I do not like Demi. There's just something about her I do not like. And I came to find out that Sheena Shea from the old Vanderpump Rules is actually really good friends with Demi. So anyways, Angelika might be sweet and innocent, but she's definitely a stripper at heart. Like, if you saw her making those moves on that stripper pole, oh my goodness, it was crazy. They end up at a restaurant to eat, and Audrey can feel that the vibe is off. So when Kim and Angelika and all the other girls are in the washroom, she asks Natalie what's going on. Natalie says it's because me and her haven't spoken since the pool party 6 days ago, and she hasn't made an attempt to kind of come and settle it. Like, there's just this big elephant in the room. So while this is going on at this restaurant that they're at, Marcus encourages Jason to message Angelika, because it seems like even though Angelika called it off with Jason, she said, well, I'm not a second choice. So if you want to go have girls on your lap, you go do that. Jason still feels like she's the one that got away. Like, he really wants to try to make it work. So he's like, hey, why don't you and Kim, when you're done your ladies' night, come to Sir, and then you can come meet up with me and Marcus. So Angelika's obviously, oh, yay, all giddy about that. And then when all the ladies come back from the washroom and they're eating, Natalie kind of starts to crash out, and she wants to go up to Kim. She's like, I know this isn't the place for time. So Natalie starts, so this is where I'm kind of like, as much as I love Natalie, I feel like she did kind of like pick the wrong time to do this. Although I understand her stance. So Natalie goes to Kim and says, I know that maybe now is not the good time, but I really want to talk about this because there is a big elephant in the room. And this is what caused the trigger for Natalie. When Kim says, I've had to avoid you because I didn't want to talk about it, and right now is not a good time. So Natalie's getting drunk, but in her head she's saying, so you're avoiding me, so you don't want to resolve this, and then tonight is not a good time to talk about this, so then when is? And then her crash out begins, And unfortunately, when you're on that roll and you're on the streak, it just happens. And if I remember correctly, the second episode, Chris was stripping on Audrey, and in the background you could see Kim crying and Natalie consoling her. So I don't know why Kim thinks that like they're like, she had the decency to invite Natalie, so obviously she knows that in the future there'll be some repair. But I feel like she thinks that because she has the ball in her court right now, she can kind of like juggle with Natalie's feelings. And I don't think that's right. Like, it's deceiving. So that's why I say that I really like Natalie. Like, you can tell that she's very genuine about doing this, but Kim is kind of like playing her in this moment. Like, she's like, haha, I have you where I want you in my grips. You're going to do it as I say. And no offense, Kim, you're not that special. Like, no one really likes you, to be honest. I think people might just kiss her ass because they think that she's the main character. But even her friends that she was like talking to, they're not even main character. We don't even know who they are. They were not even on the show. So you're no main character. It's maybe because Marcus is there. Marcus is way more main character than you'll ever be. And Natalie, top 10. And I think that's where Kim's kind of like jealousy comes from. Just wait until she watches the show back too. Like, you look like a dummy. You're not part of this like main cast crew. Your boyfriend is, and your friends at Sir are, but you're definitely not. The only reason you're there is to showcase your relationship with Marcus, which in the end looks like shit. Okay? So, of course, Natalie has to crash out. It's sad to see, but we've all had that. If you've ever drank and you've been in a group setting like this and there's an issue, sometimes that one time that you drink, it comes to heart and it comes out. So I don't blame the girl. Did we not see, again, Kim crashing out like 2 episodes ago, right when Chris was stripping on Audrey? And if you look in the background, you can see Kim crying. And again, Natalie being a good friend and consoling her. Natalie didn't have to do that, especially since from the beginning of the series, season 12, Kim's been treating her like shit. All good people finish last. Natalie just has to happen to have a good heart. So unfortunately, her heart's gonna get stomped a bit in this process. We move on to episode 5. Okay. It's come to Lisa and the manager's attentions that Chris is a sex worker, but the claim is that he's on OnlyFans. And Guillermo was there, and Guillermo was like, I don't really think that's a big issue. And Lisa was even confused. She's like, what do you mean, like, sex worker? And I think that people are tagging him under, like, some of the pictures that they posted at the Sir thing on the Instagram. Oh, he's a sex worker. See how people can take something like, oh, he's on OnlyFans, so he's a sex worker? Sex worker means, like, I mean, adult entertainment could be one thing, but sex worker specifically means, like, prostitute or escort, like, having sex in exchange for money. I don't see where it would outline that he's that type of person. People will take anything and run with it. But the reason that they're all at the restaurant, Lisa, Natalie, and Guillermo, is because they're planning for a Spanish after party of this Spanish, I think, play or movie that Guillermo was involved in. So they just all happen to be there. In the meantime, Angelika and Natalie go get their nails done, which is weird because we just saw in the last scene that they were fighting. But, because I guess Natalie pushed Angelika, but Angelika says in her confessional in this episode, you know, I want to forgive Natalie and move forward and, you know, make a bond with her. I understand that she was drunk and she was feeling a certain kind of way. And the only way that I can really get to know these girls is to kind of like, you know, forgive her and move on and give her another chance. But like, this will be the only chance they'll give her. And I think that's nice of her. Now Natalie goes on to tell, Angelika goes on to tell Natalie that night, that after the girls' night, she had gone to meet up with Jason because Jason had invited her. Remember, Jason in the text invited her, hey, maybe you and Kim can come meet up with me and Marcus after your ladies' night. But Jason doesn't even happen to be there. Actually, she says what happened was that on her way to the ladies' night, she was calling Jason. She's like, hey, where are you? And he had called to let her know that she was going to be leaving, that he was going to be leaving because he's actually exhausted and tired. And it's going to take him an hour to get home. But she didn't even bother to listen to it all because as soon as he said that he was leaving and she was on her way to see him, she hung up the phone on him. As I would too. Like, this is now the second time that I'm giving you an opportunity and you're fucking being a douchebag and doing this. No way. So then Natalie starts asking Angelika questions like, oh, but you still sleep, are you still living with your ex? And she's like, yeah. She's like, are you still sleeping with him? She's like, yeah, I am. At least I'm not in the streets getting it. He sleeps on the air mattress. I sleep on whatever. Who doesn't even matter at this point. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, you know, rich for her to have expectations, but also it makes sense because she's just a very like demanding person. Hence why the ex doesn't want to necessarily be with her forever, and why they're broken up, but he doesn't mind still sleeping with her, you know? This is the situation where why buy the whole cow when you can get the milk for free? And like, if she does have these high standards, or she throws everything on the table and says, "This is the way that it's good. Am I your girl, or are you my man, or are you seeing other people? I want to just be us exclusive." She has to kind of hold up to that expectation as well on her end. But all secrets come out, and I'm going to be interested to see how her ex reacts to seeing her on screen and doing all these things, considering that he was still living there and sleeping with her at the same time. So at Sir again, Jason sits down with Angelika. It's kind of getting boring seeing these conversations. Like, it's like, how many more times are we going to have to go through this where you fuck her over and then you have to go and apologize? Like, just don't do it anymore, you know? But he goes and he tells her that, "I'm sorry about the other day. I was really tired. Let's try this one more time." Boring. Honestly, these little scenes, these little filler scenes are starting to get boring. I found this actually episode to be more like a filler episode anyways. It was just kind of to introduce us to parts so that we understand when the bigger things happen. But so after this kind of fake apology that we get from, or I don't want to say fake, but like second apology now that we get from Jason to Angelika, it's like, God. Marcus is DJing at Sir. How embarrassing. And Kim shows up, and Venus says that he wants to repair his friendship with her, so they go into the back to have a conversation. Again, the infamous alley of Sir. Kim starts to cry. I don't believe her at all. I think she's fake. But she starts to cry, and she says the last year of their relationship, which was the bonding between Marcus, Venus, and her, like, was it all fake? Because how did this happen and get here? And then Venus actually makes a really good point. He's like, "I want you to realize that, like, I said something out of anger, but I never, when I told everyone the stuff that you had said behind their backs, your secrets was safe with me. But you guys are the ones that, like, I didn't do anything for you guys to lose my trust. I just was honest in a moment of anger, and to be honest, if you go back and you really see what Venus had said about the relationship, all he says is that you guys are making yourself look like fools with this fake ass relationship, always constantly yelling at each other and getting back together. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think he was being honest. I think he was fed up as the friend that's always stuck in the middle and constantly seeing this, like, it's just happening over and over again, but aside from him being honest and that hurting their feelings, he didn't really do anything bad to betray their trust. Whereas they went and told the entire restaurant things that Venus had said about them in confidence. Because that's what friends do. You gossip and you have someone safe to tell your, gossip too. And in that moment, she said that, I did that and I'm sorry. But then she goes in with the but. She's like, "But you know that how I'm like with girls and blah, blah." And then at that time, Demi comes and grabs Venus and says that it's kind of busy in there, so he's going to need her. So they had to cut the conversation short. But I know that the conversation was headed in the direction, like with Natalie, like the up and downs that she's had with Natalie has made her lose trust. And just people in general, so she has a hard time trusting people. Still doesn't mean that you can go expose their secrets, especially when they trust you with their secrets, Everything about Kim yells fake. So Angelika's a double black belt in Taekwondo, and Jason does jiu-jitsu. So the next date that they actually have is at a martial arts studio. Weird date, but it's nice to learn something new to the audience. Like, I never knew that Taekwondo was more about kicking, whereas jiu-jitsu is more floor work. So that's kind of nice to know. He did try to kiss her, and like, she just found it awkward. I guess she wanted more of a. She's pretty high maintenance. I'm not gonna lie, this girl, but at least she knows what she wants. And again, that can be a bit intimidating for guys that maybe don't know what they want. So then you have that scene, goes into the next scene where you have Chris and Jason explaining how they do OnlyFans to make money. But I love that. So this is the part that I can actually kind of respect Jason with Chris together, like as a story with both of them in it. They both come from Jersey. They're cousins. They lived in their car. They were working 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet. Still wasn't enough. They were eating like tuna. Well, Jason said he was eating cat food, but it was like more like cans of tuna because he couldn't afford anything else. I don't know if I could do that, because there's been times that I've been starving and I couldn't afford anything, but I just had to go find something to eat, like something sweet, Maybe that'll help with the diet aspect of things. But anyways, then Jason was the one that tried OnlyFans and it worked for him. So Chris is like, well, if he's making money, able to pay his bills, then I'm going to do it too. So I think now they're at a point where they're able to hire, because in the scene that this was in, there was a lady that was there that was like doing videography. Now they don't get fully naked, but I can see how this could be a hit with a lot of gay guys, or let's say older women. They're just kind of wearing like sexy shorts and et cetera, et cetera. Maybe it gets more, but from what we could see, that's kind of all it showed. So it's kind of nice to see that how they started off with nothing and they came here and it was a lot harder than they expected, and they kind of made it work. When Audrey is with Angelika, she tells Angelika that, did you know that they have an OnlyFans? And the only reason I'm bringing this up, which I normally wouldn't because I don't really care about stuff like this, is that there was a penis pump that Audrey saw in what she thought was Chris's washroom, but instead it was actually Jason's washroom. The only reason I bring up the story at all is because I can see when they show scenes in later episodes, it keeps getting brought up by Angelika to a point that I think that this is how it goes. Chris confronts her and says, you got to stop with like saying things that, have like no relevance to anything. And she's like, well, your girlfriend's the one that told me. So Chris goes back and says, what did you tell Angelika about the penis pump? Because now that's the only word that can come out of her mouth, like a 1-year-old. Like it's the only word that she's learned. And then you see a scene where Audrey's kind of yelling at Angelika, like, I don't trust you anymore. I can't tell you anything. I think that Angelika keeps bringing this stuff up about Jason is because she's actually quite hurt that she didn't actually get with Jason. And that Jason didn't, on the first run, give her the time and day that she wanted. Then the second run, he still, like, kind of dusted her off. Didn't end up at SIR, went home. And the third time, he takes her to a martial arts place. She's not happy. She wanted more out of him. She really did like him. Because then you see what happens in the next scene, is that they're at a, I guess they all went out after one night of working or whatnot. And Shayne's there. And so she tells Jason, I don't want anything to do with you. But doesn't say that she wants to go to Shayne. And then slowly creeps over to Shayne. Now, I never saw anything between them. Maybe it just wasn't shown. Or it didn't happen. Or maybe just her ploy to kind of get back at Jason. Or to show to everybody, like, don't fuck with me because I can fuck right back. But she goes over to Jason. And Jason is an addict. So Jason's going to fall for anything with legs. Especially there was a scene, sorry, not Jason, Shayne, my bad. She goes over to Shayne and Shayne's going to fall for anything with legs because Shayne's an addict. But what's funny is that it showed a scene earlier where Shayne had a girl over and then he told another girl text him. He told the girl, hey, wait in your car, kicks out the girl that he's with right now, making out with, and then invites another girl in. So Shayne is no king himself, but Shayne is a dude with a penis in between his legs, and he's an ex-addict. So, he's going to grip onto things like this. And even though his buddy was into this girl, Jason's going to make it seem like, yeah, I didn't really, whatever. We're just talking. But Shayne's going to go for her anyways. First of all, I don't even know where Shayne is. Like, how is Shayne even part of this whole SIR cast? He's friends with Marcus, but why is he even there? Like, how did Lisa agree to sign off on him being there? Like, I see him coming. Like, for instance, that episode or that scene where Kim and Venus are having a conversation, he's walking with Marcus to the back of SIR. It's like, well, how are you able to walk through the restaurant when you don't even work there? It's just some of these things just don't make sense. But anyways, there's Shayne. And happy that he, is with Angelika. And she's obviously, doing her little, like, being a tease and being all over him. And I really think, like, A, she just wants to get some. B, she wants to show everybody that she can get some and she's not to be fucked with. And C, she kind of wants to play back with Jason and kind of give him a taste of his own medicine. Not that this is the medicine that he gave out in the first place, but just to kind of show him who's boss. You can see that it does bother Jason, but of course boys are not going to get upset over each other over something so stupid, especially when there wasn't anything long term. Like they didn't even date. She was sold out 3 times by Jason anyways. And then when they go out onto the dance floor, she starts making out with Shayne. And then Natalie's like, well, I dodged a bullet. And again, no one's upset with Natalie because I think people saw that Natalie was really into Jason. And I think Natalie has been really forthcoming. And I think that's what kind of saves her in situations like this. Whereas she'll say for example, she says this is exactly who I really wanted to be with Jason. I really liked him. I really had a crush on him. But at the same time, are you still living with your ex? Yes, I am. Are you guys sleeping together? Well, yeah. She's not denying it. Now, Jason can go and say, well, she never told me that. Well, I'm going to think that Angelika would be like, well, you never asked, But Angelika, being the way that she is, very overbearing, hence why the ex doesn't want to be with her but doesn't mind still sleeping with her, can kind of push guys away by just having this kind of like really controlling nature. Like she has to be in control of everything. It has to just be these two people. She doesn't like the idea of other people dating or her dating. It just has to be one-on-one. This is the type of girl that she is, whether it works for her or not. And listen, I'm not saying that I agree with her. I am definitely not that type of person. I cannot, first of all, I have no interest in being with one person, one guy in general. I just don't have my eyes set on a guy like that at all. Number two, I don't trust guys. But she seems to throw it all in because she trusts them somehow. Like she trusts them until they show her not to trust them. Whereas me, like you have to earn the trust, So, but I just know that I do know girls like her that will put their hearts on their sleeves and they're always hurt. They always get laid and they always get hot guys, but it's not for a long term. It's just always short term. Because again, they're overbearing personalities. Guys don't want that. Guys just want to fuck around and sleep around. And when guys do want to eventually settle down, they're going to settle down with someone that, as they say, is not, so to speak, psycho, quote unquote, But she kind of acts psycho, like she wants everything controlled, and they don't like that either, So she's really damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't. She can be honest, and that's going to scare guys away, or she can kind of be a hoe like she is right now, and that's still going to piss guys off and perhaps scare them away. But in the meantime, she's found Shayne to play her little games with. So like I said, I saw the previews for the upcoming episodes. It does not look fun. It looks kind of drama, and I'm excited because this episode was kind of like clean. It's kind of prepping you to show you the dynamic amongst everyone at SUR for the things and the events that are coming up. So that's kind of fun. I really love Vanderpump Rules. I really love it. I think they did a really good job with the casting. Even though I don't like some of the cast, I think it works because it's going to give us the drama that we need. And it's easy to be like, I like her, I don't like her. Like, you're going to have people that are going to like someone and that don't like her at the same time. So, yeah, it's really exciting to watch it. It's definitely much more entertaining than the old one. The old cast. The old cast kind of just, they were stuck in the same timeline and the same loop of events. And this is fun and interesting to see. So I just can't wait to see it play out. So that's it. That's all we have for Vanderpump Rules. I'm so glad I caught up with that. That was kind of a fun one to watch. Tell me what you guys think. Like, do you guys have any favorites? Are you guys excited about this new season? I know that, for example, with all the older cast, I listen to Lala's podcast and I do listen to Sheena's, and I know Sheena doesn't watch, but Lala does. Lala actually had Natalie on her podcast just recently. So, but Sheena did mention that she's friends with Demi, and she's been friends with Demi for a long time. So it's interesting to see the influence that perhaps some of the old cast members had, although I believe that on this cast, nothing. Although, oh wait, there's one thing that I do remember. Venus has a sister. I believe it's his twin sister. Sister regardless. Looks just like her redhead. And she slept with Peter. Peter Madrigal, who's like the manager at SUR. And it's funny because I haven't seen Peter once, but I feel like I don't think he resigned. I think he still works there, but he's just not in any of the scenes. But I know that he works there quite often because when I've gone to SUR at LA, which I have photos taken with him, he was there. And I went a second time with my daughter a couple years ago. He was there, and my brother went, and he was there. He's just kind of always there. But he's part of like the old cast. So yeah, so interesting to see and to hear. But I'm loving it. And the time that I watched it, I used to work in restaurants myself growing up in my 20s, and actually all my 20s I worked in these restaurants called Earl's and Cactus Club, and I was a server, bartender, hostess, did it all. Bar, lounge server. And I know exactly the feeling of everything that's going on. So it's really easy for me to relate, and I am so glad that I don't work there anymore. Sometimes I think, should I go back to serving? Like, sometimes it is good money, and I know now, like with the extension of Cactus Club restaurants all over the U.S., they do need staff, and they can ship their staff to anywhere. in the US to help open these newer restaurants in different locations. Like I know Boston just got a new Cactus Club. Miami's going to get a Cactus Club. So obviously they're in need, although I'm a bit older. Don't really look my age. But I could do it, but then it's just, again, I'm clean, I'm sober. The environment and just the problems, like I can only watch it on TV. Like I can't actually be immersed in it. It's too much for me. It's too overwhelming for me. So props to these people that live these lives, you know? Anyways, with that being said, y'all, thanks for tuning in for the Vanderpump recap. Surprised to see what is going to be next. I am going to throw in some, personal episodes in between. But thanks for keeping up. If you guys have anything to mention, like I said, find me on my socials at Naz Kazemi. You can go onto my YouTube. Please subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you're listening to. It really helped me out. Again, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you soon, pursuers.